Hey everyone, Lee Constantini, founder of Personal Trainers Elite here. And I'm here with Danny, who is working through the PTE Academy, and he's had some great successes. So we're just going to jump in today and talk about some of his experiences in the program so far, and some of the things that he's done. So Danny, just kind of going back, before you joined the Academy, where were you? What were you wanting to achieve in your fitness business?
Yeah, so I've kind of been a trainer for a long time, in different ways, this is kind of, I feel like, how everyone starts. You start training friends as well as yourself, and then you start to take it more seriously. And I started to become qualified, and then the lockdown hit, obviously, and I didn't want that to stop me. No way. I had like this vision. This is going to sound really cliche, but I went traveling last year, and the job I was doing, which I'm still doing, but I'm in the process of dialing that down as I've picked this up. The job I was doing just wasn't for me. It wasn't like my calling, and I knew I always loved fitness and I loved helping people, and I just got a buzz off it. Like every time, like I would work on my workout programs to and from work and send people ideas and all of this sort of stuff, right? And everyone kept telling me that I should be a trainer. So anyway, when the lockdown hit, I actually signed up to another program, which I won't name, but it was an okay program. It kind of springboarded me, and I feel like everything happens for a reason. And then after that, I had like a website stood up, and I'd sold maybe like a program or two, but and I had a few clients. Like I had three clients, people I knew, but that was going well and they were getting good results. But I was still in search of that kind of golden ticket of, how do I scale this? Like, how do I actually make a living off this, especially in these current times? And I thought, I'm not someone who just accepts the kind of the rules, so to speak. Like, oh, we just have to wait for the perfect moment, because I just don't think there's ever a perfect moment. So I came across your stuff, Lee. I watched your videos, and obviously that just built the trust. I just felt like your message resonated with me. It was very much to the point. It seemed like practical, and it made sense to me. Like it almost didn't. It wasn't that it seemed too good to be true. It was just kind of like, it was that normal thing of, what about this, and what about this, and what about this? What if it doesn't work because of all these other reasons? But the actual program, from the start of me watching your videos, I was like, this just makes sense to me. And I'd seen things like Facebook advertising, and obviously it gets played back to you when you use things like social media. And I thought, that's probably the way to do it. I dipped my toe in. I remember telling you this, but I just didn't know what I was doing. So yeah, when we had our first call, I was, to be honest with you, I was pretty sure I was going to sign up before we even had the call, just because I did my due diligence on like kind of working out how you do things. I did do a little bit of looking for any competitors, but I didn't really find anything that kind of made me feel the way that your stuff felt. So I went kind of on a gut feeling, much to my partner's despair at the time, because she was kind of a lot more skeptical. What was the funny thing was, I was a few weeks into the academy, and we actually took a holiday, luckily. And when we were on holiday, one of your first, I think it was your first or second testimonial, came out of one of the other members, and I showed her the testimonial, and she was like, that is crazy. And I was like, well, I've had this faith from the start, but at least and that kind of built her. She had a lot more faith then in like what I was spending all my time doing.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I've just been, I'd say for the like last 2-3 weeks, been doing the consultations, running ads, and
Yeah, let's talk about that. Let me dive in and ask you actually more about that. So, you jumped in on the gut feeling, despite what was going on around you. So what are some of the things that you've been learning in the academy that has got you to where you are now and feeling confident with the direction you're going? What are some of the things you've learned?
so I would say two things: automation and advertising. So the first one, automation, is actually three things. I would say you is the final one, but the two things that kind of just initially sold me was that I know from my experience that my other job is based in IT. So I know automation is just the way, like that's just the way that things are going to go in every single industry. And anything like your nurturing process, as we call it, like when you first get to know a client, you know, those messages are very much the same. And I always thought there's got to be a way to automate it, right? And one of the biggest things for me that we do is we have one platform. It's kind of a one-stop shop, whereas you have the program I did before, it was just a few of the tools you'd have to use to get that kind of system working, if you know what I mean. And that was one big thing for me. It was, we set up the automation so that when leads started coming in, they would get automatically nurtured. And that just kind of brings your stress down. It's kind of like, well, what if we open the floodgates? What if I can't respond to them all and I lose the good ones, you know? And that put my worries at rest, if you know what I mean. Like once I knew that they'd get nurtured and I'd have to jump in at the right moment, that was key for me. The other thing was turning on the Facebook ads. You know, I because of my unique situation, I remember talking to you and kind of fast tracking in a way and jumping ahead a little bit to get my ads going, because I really wanted to just get everything I could together to see, you know, will this work? I had faith in the program and the approach. It's just whether I could implement it. And so, yeah, I've been running ads for like 3 weeks now. I think it's about 3 weeks. And doing the consultations as well. And so for the first week, I didn't really have any consultations, and that's because my ads just weren't really configured right for what I'm doing. So I'm doing purely online PTing, at least for the time being. And once we tweaked them together, like that next week, it started running really good within the measurements that you give us, the KPIs. And from there, I just started rolling with the consultations. And I want to say, finally, you have been great, because you just keep grinding, right? And sometimes you just need someone to tell you to keep going, if you know what I mean. It seems silly, like something small, and sometimes your parents or your loved ones will tell you, but sometimes the guy who you are following, your mentor or girl, whoever it may be, whoever your mentor is, if they tell you, you know, you're on the right track, just keep pushing, that's just enough sometimes, you know, especially on those days where you have like 3 or 4 consultations. Maybe 2 out of 4 will go really well, but you still won't make that sell, you know? And actually, it's just a learning process. Like, I remember every consultation that didn't close, there was always like a little bit of knowledge I got from it. Like, oh, you need to press a bit more there, or you need to ask that question in a different way, or you need to really dig deep on their why. Like, the actual challenge that you're offering it's not as important. It's still important, but I feel like the why is the majority of that sale, you know.
Digging in and finding out the whole point, and then being on this call with you, right, and getting them connected to that. So was that something that you were able to learn through the academy as well, how to figure that side of things out on the sales?
Definitely. So you have like all the scripts that you would need to kind of handle certain responses, and again, that puts your mind at rest, you know. I think every student takes that information in their own way, because scripts are hard to learn, right? Like actors will know, right? You got this script where you're like, this is the answer, but it's kind of it is a learning. You have to do it to kind of learn it. Like you can kind of read it and read it and read it, but once you need to see if you're comfortable saying those things, like that is really key. And I think you get more comfortable as time goes on. And then those questions are like nothing. It's just like, you just know the way to ask them. So your scripts were really good. And actually, like I said before, after each consultation, I would say to you like, oh, it went like this. And you would dig a bit deeper, but what actually happened. And on the group calls, we did that a little bit. And sometimes we looked at each other's recordings. That's another really key thing. So Lee gets us to record each of our consultations, so that when we have like group calls all together, we can actually look at each other's consultations. And it's just such a good learning experience, because even if you're not at that point in the academy, so for anyone that's listening, if you join, if you feel like you're kind of behind, because everyone's at a different point, right? You're going to be learning so much good stuff. So making sure you can get on those group calls when you can is so key. And that was another big thing for me. So yeah, it's just been hammering away at it, you know, until this week, right?
Yeah, so let's talk about this week. You know, I know you've had some wins, so just share some of those results, man, because that's what everyone wants to know, right? So, what are some of the results you've had so far?
So in 2 days, I made over 2K, which was a massive deal.
So,
Um,
£2,000 in 2 days.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And I hadn't even, so I made a promise to myself that before I spend £300 on ads, I wanted one sale. And at the time I made the two sales, I'd only spent about £250. So I'm trying to put in these small wins, which is something that you teach us to help our clients with, which I feel is so key to keeping you going, you know. But yeah, I was over the moon. Like the first sale, I was like, okay, this has been it. I remember messaging you, and then the next, and you every week you ask us to post our wins, right? So I put my win on there from the night before, and then literally my second consultation on Monday, I made that sale, and I was like, oh my god, this is just no feeling like it, because it's not even the money. It's like you put all of this time and effort, and you grind, and then it actually happens, and it's kind of like the feeling is indescribable. And also just so excited to help those people. You know, you build up such a connection on these calls, you dig in deep to learn about why they're there, and they tell you some stuff that probably they don't tell a lot of other people. And so not only are you excited about actually making the sale, you know, the money is obviously great, but at the same time, it's like, oh, I can actually help this person that really needs help. So the whole thing is just, it is crazy, you know. It makes me think, like, if any trainers out there, and I've actually been speaking to a friend who's a trainer and recommending him go, and I knew I was going to wait until I made my first sales to kind of speak to anyone else I knew who were trainers, because I wanted to say to them that it definitely works. You know, it worked for me. But any trainer that's out there that feels like, you know, they can do it on their own, or they're like stuck cleaning machines all day and they've barely got one or two clients, like, and I haven't even gone down that road. Like, you'll know, Lee, and just for everyone that's listening, I started purely online because I knew from doing my qualification that the normal thing was go to a gym, like sit in the gym for basically the majority of the day and maybe have one or two clients. I used to see it all the time. And I just thought, like, that's not the way to do it. You want your calendar booked, right? And this is the way, you know, you're getting leads pumped in. You've got your KPIs to know that, okay, maybe this ad isn't working anymore. It worked for a bit, and you switch it off, you rethink of ideas. And the other great thing is you haven't just got what you've already done. So the other course I did, it had everything prepackaged done, right? With your stuff, you're constantly adding to it. So you've added bonus modules, which is so good. And also the calls on top, it just adds like so much more value, man. So thank you. I want to say
No, you're
thank you.
welcome. I'm happy you're taking advantage of everything, Danny, and that's the great thing. You've taken action, you've taken advantage, and now you're seeing the results from the efforts you've put in, and that's just the greatest thing for me to see. Just like you're excited to help your clients, for me, it's, as I said, I posted this the other day. It's exciting because when you guys win, it makes me feel like I've won, you know, and that in itself is what keeps me going. So for anyone who is maybe watching this, who's maybe been on the fence, look to other programs, can you share just a couple words to help encourage them to, you know, at least reach out for the help that they might need?
Yeah, definitely. So one thing I would say is the best investment is an investment in yourself. And especially during these times, you know, if you're thinking about building an online presence, listen, Lee knows, like, he's done this for over 10 years. He's done the whole building up a social media following thing. And that's not the way. Like, he knows the way. It's through the right amount of advertising and the right system to nurture those leads, bring them to you, and so you can, you know, close. So yeah, give it a chance. And the initial call is free, right? So just give Lee a chance to have the call with him, and you'll be surprised at how many things you're going through that he's already gone through. So
Couldn't have said it better myself, man. Just the advertising systems. And yeah, you know, as you said, I've been through the wire a few times, got many pains as I share every week on our calls, right? All those lessons come back to me. and some of the things I try to save you guys from doing. So yeah, if anyone is watching and feeling inspired, encouraged, there's a link somewhere around. Hop on, let's have a chat. And Danny, yeah, thanks so much for sharing. I'm as excited to see more from you, man.
That's all right. Yeah, I'm excited for the future, man. This is, I said to my family, like those two leads were greater than when I graduated. So I went to university, I graduated, and that was one of the best feelings I've ever had, like career wise. But this was just so much better because it was two things. It was passion and money. And when you get those things together, I think you've cracked it. You know, you just then need to keep going. So I'm going to keep going and see what I'm excited for what the future holds.
It's going to be good, man. Thanks for joining us, Danny. Thanks for the time today. I appreciate it.
It's all right.